Hello. How's it going, Andrea?
Good. How are you, John?
Good. Welcome everyone to another midweek spoiler cast of
That's right.
Westworld.
It's our Westworld Wednesdays.
Yeah. Yep.
Been
That's right. How's your week been thus far?
pretty good, honestly. The sun is back out, so that always makes everything a little better. Makes it feel like springtime again
Yep.
after those rainy slash sleet slash snowy days.
hmm
So
Yesterday was amazing.
yes, it was gorgeous outside. We are gonna go outside and like have a fire since it was so nice. We
Oh
didn't quite
yeah.
get to it, but could
Yeah,
have
that would have
since
been
it was so
good.
nice outside.
Today is super windy.
Yes.
So
Took a walk earlier and yeah, not the best, but
blow
still
over.
can't complain.
Yep. Well, it's not that it matters, but it's after 5 o'clock now. Just drinking anything?
I am not actually. I'm just
Ah,
just got water today.
yeah, it's just Popcast now.
Yep. No rocks.
Yep,
How
yep.
about yourself?
Yeah, I was like, well, I better do it. And I have one rock in there. It's just some shochu and lightly sweetened grapefruit juice and
Ooh,
club soda.
how's that?
It's good. It's refreshing. Feels
Nice.
like feels like summer.
Indeed. Sounds like summer.
Yeah. Okay, well, a few news stories.
Mhm.
We will talk a little bit gaming here for a second, and just a heads up to people, we may start streaming a few games. I know no one does that these days. No one starts a podcast, no one has those, and no
We're
one streams
unique.
games. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, right. But Gamecasts on the rocks. I mean, that's going for now. Um, you can find us on Twitch. There's
Mhm.
nothing there right now. If you go there, it's a black hole, emptiness. But you can follow us anyways, see when we go live, and we'll get some content up there. It's like, why not?
I would
Why
say
not?
before the weekend is over, we will have at least one thing up there, if
Nice.
not more. So
Sweet. Well, let us know what games you want to see streamed, or if
that's
you'd rather
right.
see videos or streams or whatever. So
If you want to see me awkwardly only knife my way through Borderlands because I
yeah.
can't shoot a gun to save my life,
You would
follow
probably
that.
get views if you made a video that you only knifed your way through Borderlands, any of them. That would
I
probably get
know. I know. I've already obviously heard that it's not possible, but I don't know. I'm making my way.
Yeah, yeah, you make it happen. I wouldn't think that you could beat Breath of the Wild without walking, but indeed you can.
Oh,
I've
okay.
seen it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So, here to make the impossible come true, I guess. We'll
right.
see how far
Mhm.
I get.
Other gaming stuff, you saw
Yeah.
PS5 controller.
Yeah. So obviously, PS5 and all its accompanying equipment are planning on being released this year. And the first look that anybody's really gotten at what PS5 technology will look like is the release of the controller, which I believe is called the PS5 DualSense, based on
Yeah.
the DualShock system, and then
Mhm,
just like sort of taking it up a step.
mhm,
Where the DualShock system obviously has like the haptic feedback that allows you to get that like feel in the game. This is now going to have that, but I guess the thing that they're adding in that sense is if you're playing like a game where you say draw a bowstring on a bow and arrow, you're going to get that like tension as you like pull the string back to
mhm.
knock the arrow. So that's going to be part of the gameplay as well. And they have some other sensations that they mentioned that they're going to have, but they haven't listed them, so I'm not sure what they
Mhm.
might be. But yeah, so like building off of like the interactive nature of the controller, of the DualShock controller, the Dual Sense is going to have a little bit more of that, and then also it'll have a wireless microphone as well
Sure.
built into the system. So yeah,
Well,
Should be
I
pretty
I
cool.
definitely have thoughts. I mean, so I've been seeing some people say they don't like the way it looks. I think
Sure.
it's kind of cool looking. It's something a little different.
Yeah.
Xbox is staying very similar, very, very similar for their next controller
Mhm.
iteration. So I'm okay if they're changing a little bit here without, I think, alienating the people that do enjoy the PlayStation controller traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the differences in the design, but I gotta say, I don't know that they're, like, wildly different.
Yeah, it's just a little sharper handles,
Right.
grips, I
Mhm.
guess it seems. I'm surprised they took away the share button. Um,
Sure.
I like the share button on the PS4, although the issue I have with PS4's controller is the like options and share button are very small and basically recessed, and they're hard to
Sure.
hit without looking at them, I guess. So
Absolutely.
um, the center touchpad is great. Like that's
Right.
nice on things. This giant touch surface for things. Um, it's microphone. I mean, I guess that's nice in a clutch. I'll be surprised if that is very y- well. I shouldn't say I'll be surprised if that's used, but I'll also be surprised if that performs in any meaningful way because you're sitting
Right,
there
I
with your
agree.
hands on this thing like clickety clack of the clack,
Right.
and you're gonna be using that as your microphone. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of an odd thing to add. I feel like it's something that could be easily muffled.
mhm,
I mean, even not just by like the clicking of the controller, but like if you move your hands anywhere, like how would you know exactly where the sensor is? Or like what if you're not looking and you muffle the microphone?
sure,
Um, and I mean, I generally don't tend to play with my hands all that close to my mouth.
sure,
So, do I have to shout? Like, how loud do I have to be to,
right.
have the microphone pick it up, or am I gonna be, like, hunched up playing up here? So,
I mean, they can do
I
pretty
don't
nice
know.
beamforming microphones on all the, Amazon devices and all that stuff, but so
Yeah.
maybe it'll be decent, but
Yeah, I mean,
um,
it'll just I mean, we can't really tell without having it be out yet how that's gonna work, but
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a question mark until you see
The
it in
the
action.
way they talk about like the different feels, I think that's just a
Mhm.
more accurate rumble sensor or like uh blanking on the name of haptic feedback engine or whatever, or
Yep.
taptic engine, because on the Switch they have some very precise little motors in there, whatever that can kind of
Sure.
make you. They demoed it originally like there's some mini games. Guess how many marbles are in this cup you're holding, basically, because
Sure.
has some more precision that way. I
Sure.
think the issue with these things always is the biggest games sales wise are always multi-platform games, almost always multi-platform
Mhm.
games. And so if you're X studio and you're developing a game that is going to be on PC, Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation, and maybe mobile, whatever, it's you're not probably going to develop too many features that are platform specific, you know.
Right.
Um, that's why like there's better rumble in the thumbsticks for the Xbox controller already, but the only thing that ever seems to take advantage of it is their Forza racing game,
Right.
you know. So, but I'm very
Yeah.
excited in the for the tension adjustment in the triggers because it
Yes.
when it leaked months ago, they talked about features. They said the same thing, the bowstring. And
Mhm.
I mean, their one big game where they shoot a bow all the time is Horizon Zero Dawn, and
Right.
I'm all for that.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it'll be cool. Like, I can't imagine quite how it'll feel,
Mhm.
um, but I'm ready to try it out.
Well, think if you're holding the bow, and in games often they give you like a stamina, you can only hold it so long. What if it gets harder to
Right.
hold, and you need less in-game feedback to tell you that like you're gonna have to let this arrow fly soon.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think it's kinda a cool, like, extra sensory experience. It's just hard to
mhm.
imagine, like, what it'll feel like.
Yep. So
Having, like, thought about, like, holding a regular bow. It's just like,
yep.
how do you mimic that in a game? So I'm excited to see, like, what it does.
Yep. Do you have a preference on so this is gonna be a rechargeable battery,
Mhm.
and Xbox is sticking with replaceable batteries.
Mhm.
There's pros and cons. The Obviously, so many things are chargeable these days, rechargeable, which is great, but then it's another thing to recharge. Whereas you don't
Right.
have as many batteries to replace. So if you have to replace them in your game controller, maybe it's not a big deal. And they last longer that way.
Mhm.
But what
I
do you
don't know.
think?
I kind of like the rechargeable batteries that we have for our 360.
Oh,
Like
you
I've
got a
never had an
pack, rechargeable
yeah.
pack.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with that. I mean, it's how many years old now? I can't even remember when we got it, but I know we got it when it first came out, and we've never had an issue with
Sure.
rechargeable. So I don't mind it at all.
So maybe that's ultimately the best design yet, is to have replaceable
Mhm.
batteries. So then if you want to buy a rechargeable battery pack, you can.
Yep.
That's the thing. If your battery starts dying in your PlayStation controller, well, buy a new controller or
Right.
sit with it plugged in.
Right.
Um, some people complain of the PlayStation controller dying all the time. And I'm just like, well, I charge it every
Oh
time
god.
when I'm done playing. When
Sure.
I'm playing, I plug it in. Mm.
Yeah, I usually tend to do the same. So that seems funny to me that you wouldn't. I don't know.
If you're a family, I guess, and you had a couple, just a controller and you were going to play and then someone else was going to play after you and you didn't have, I mean, there's
Yeah, I
scenarios,
mean,
I'm sure.
right, right. I mean, I get that, like, obviously, like, that's tough for extended gameplay, but yeah, I don't know, I tend to charge mine all the
Yeah,
time, and Chris tends to be a stickler about that too, so I don't
sure.
know that we've ever had an issue.
Well, you threw another story in here yet for
I did, not quite related to, anything gaming,
actually, here,
um
I'll do it. Here's the transition. Here's the
Oh,
segue.
okay.
So,
You got this.
yep. So one of the big exclusive PlayStation has is Spider-Man. We know they're gonna be making another one.
Mhm.
It's a huge selling game. Spider-Man, a great Marvel property. Marvel thing, go.
Nice, very smooth. Um, so yeah, so Marvel, in the spirit of everybody staying at home and being unable to do their sort of normal activities, um, in that sort of spirit, they are giving away access to 12 free volumes of comics, so that you can pass some time while you're staying at home because of
Sure,
COVID. Um, and I mean, they're not just like single issues, they're like multi-volume works,
sure,
or at least are some of the possibilities that you can download for free. And you don't have to sign up for anything. Like you're not obligated to, even sign up for like a trial and then you pay or whatever. It's literally
sure.
just like you have access to um, this shelf of comics that you can pick 12 to download from. And I believe that you can do that through Comixology, and you can also do it. They do have the Marvel Unlimited app for your phone, and you
Mm,
can do it there as well. Um,
okay.
so yeah, so I thought
So
that was pretty cool. It's kind of nice. Like a lot of streaming services or like other sort of services are kind of opening up, their content for people who are staying at home, and it's a nice way to try stuff out, see if you like it, and a lot of them are truly like no obligation to
yeah,
like sign
probably
up or
just
anything.
need a Comixology account, I
Yeah.
suppose, whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not free, but I got the Witchblade Humble bundle,
Oh, sure.
and so that's a whole bunch of like image Top Cow comics in there,
Sure.
Witchblade in the Darkness and different stuff, and so that will keep you reading for a long time if you want.
Right. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of different like, you know, this is this show or this, TV series or whatever, or this streaming platform or this online reading service will provide you with all the content you need to wait out, stay
Sure.
at home orders. So I think it's
Yep.
kind of cool. Everybody's kind of getting in on that.
Yep. Like HBO and AMC, right? That's what you're
Exactly.
thinking.
Yes. And CBS All Access, I just read as well.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, is extending like their free trial period. So,
Oh, okay. Huh. Wonder if you could. So wonder if you can watch anything on their service in that.
I don't know.
Because I know, so
Um,
HBO and AMC now, they're offering some free streaming options, and it's Like
Sure.
HBO is not giving you Game of Thrones,
Oh,
but
sure.
so it's a limited selection. AMC, I think, is giving you a big chunk of Walking Dead, maybe the first half or something like that.
Nice. Okay.
And HBO is giving you
Um,
some shows and some movies.
it looks like CBS All Access is giving you a 30-day free trial to with any show, and you can even get the commercial-free option.
Hmm, okay.
So
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 if you
yeah,
really
so if
wanna
you
see Picard, you can get
Yep.
your trial and
That's, like,
power
number
through
1,
it.
obviously, right on their,
Yeah,
advertisement right there is,
yeah.
Picard.
I feel bad as, like
Controversial ending and all.
yeah, I say I feel bad as, like, a nerd podcast, so we really haven't covered Picard, but, I mean, the one friend I know that's Star Trek well, okay, I got a couple Star Trek fan passionate friends, but this one guy has been so vocal about how garbage it is, um, that I haven't thought about it for a second time, you know?
Yeah, I started the first episode, so I should probably finish that out because I was, Star Trek is actually part of what I grew up on.
Sure.
Um, Star Trek and then Stargate was a
Okay.
big like,
Sure.
those were 2 big parts of my I guess all the stars, since I was just talking on our Star Wars episode about how my dad took me to, like, see the re-releases.
Yeah.
So that was actually all my dad. He was into all of that and then got me hooked on all of it, so
I love the Stargate movie.
have you
That's
seen
not
the
fun.
TV show?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, that was definitely a big part of
Stargate Atlantis and stuff,
Yep.
all that. I mean, I
Yep.
remember when it was on, sci-fi, but
It was pretty great. It's pretty awesome. I would love to I haven't watched it in a long time. I would love to go back as an adult and, like,
sure.
check out the, effects and things that I thought were probably amazing as a teenager.
Group watch party, Stargate Atlantis.
That's right. Uh, that'd be pretty
Well,
fun.
yeah. I don't know how we would I haven't watched other people doing that, so I don't know how we'd facilitate that kind of thing, but
We
sure
could
could
do, like,
figure
a
it out.
Zoom meeting.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
just saying how we, Zoom meetinged, watching Westworld this Sunday, so
Right. Yep. Well, in other HBO news and why we're here,
Yes,
Westworld
that's
is
right.
currently in its third season. Episode 4 was
Right.
Sunday.
We're midway through, at
Yeah.
least according to what I know of the season. That'll be 8 episodes.
I don't feel like enough has happened for this to be the halfway point.
I know, I know. I mean, obviously, this last episode, a lot happened. But I
Well,
still don't know that it even though we found out a lot and I felt like we got a lot of information, I don't know that it totally moved the season forward in
so
terms of, like, overall plot.
what do you think was the big I mean, the big reveal oh, spoilers. I should have put I mean, this is obvious that it's spoilers, but we should throw it up so people know.
Yes.
Um,
I mean, obviously, come on now. When I say the big reveal,
yeah. Well,
like,
right. So Dolores is an
is everyone.
egomaniac and she only believes in herself.
Mhm,
She is a virus.
mhm.
Um, she brought only her copies of herself
Yep,
into the real world.
yep.
Um, that's the big thing. But
Yeah.
was I missing something else?
As far as, like, reveals go,
Yeah, like
um,
what we really found out, that other
yeah, I think in terms of reveals, I mean, it's oh, man, I guess we found out a little bit more about Sirach and his sort of motivations
okay.
and that
Yep.
he's technically the person who built or designed, the code for the Rehoboam system. I don't know that I necessarily knew that,
Sure.
that he was, like, the designer and obviously, like, what it's for. And then I think we found out, like, that Maeve is going to work for Sirach, at least for now.
She doesn't have a choice. She has no choice.
For now, I think.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I feel like she was sort of given a choice in the episode, where other Dolores number, 4 technically I think we've seen so far, um, gave her a choice of, like, bringing her daughter into this real world, and working with her to do that. And I think I don't know, I feel like that was a pretty significant moment So I like the way that like Maeve's and Dolores's stories are intersecting right now because I feel like initially, Dolores, or excuse me, not Dolores, Maeve was only given like one choice. Like Serac was like, I brought you here, I control you, I've got your special little button. And I want to offer you the chance to hunt down Dolores, and then I will reunite you with your daughter in the forge. Which I was like, okay, half of me gets this because there's nothing Maeve wouldn't do, clearly, as we've seen over the seasons for her daughter.
Yeah.
But I don't see Maeve like running off into the forge and just living like this kind of, paradise life that's super easy and has no complications. Like, she's a plotter, she's a schemer, she likes to be where the action is, and she likes, I don't know, she likes having purpose, I think. And I feel like paradise would eventually get real boring for her. So when
Yeah.
Dolores offered her the choice of like, okay, work with me and I'll help you bring your daughter here, I was kind of like, yeah, I feel this. I feel this for Maeve. And I think her like walking through Singapore and sort of like checking out the city and what being around people was like was giving her a sense of like, wow, I'm really interested in this real world. And I
Sure.
think the longer she's in the real world, the longer she's going to want to, or the more she's going to want to bring her daughter there rather than like join her in the forge. And I
Well,
think that
yeah.
it's my own theory just based on the way that like she acted in this last episode, and like I said, the sort of look in her eyes as she was taking all of the human world in. I just feel like she'd want the challenge of bringing her daughter there. And so I think that's going to be Sirach's mistake, is just like letting her loose in the world is going to give her a taste of the world, and she's going to want an appetite for more. So,
I think she has no intention or desire to go into the forge. It's
mhm.
another fake world to her.
Yeah,
I don't think she thought that at first, not necessarily fully understanding what it was. She was helping
right.
everybody get in there. But
Right.
after, you know, learning more of the truth and the understanding of what is real, I don't think that's going to be satisfying to her.
I
But my
agree.
point is she can't hardly choose that. Serac still controls her body.
Yeah,
She can't say no at this point. He can just shut her down.
for sure.
um,
Yeah,
Probably
I don't.
remotely for all we know. She's gonna have to find a way to like she would have to join up with Dolores or something unbeknownst and have her pearl ripped out and another body printed.
Yeah,
That would have to
but
be the
technically Dolores has the technology to do that
yes,
and
right.
is clearly like making more material for host bodies, as we saw
Yep.
through like, Maeve's encounter with the Yakuza. Um
Yep.
so yeah, so I feel like it's not immediately apparent like how this is going to happen, but I feel like that's a more logical choice or a more logical path that I could see Maeve going down rather than like
Yeah.
where like Serac flat out said like, "No, no, no, there's no place for your kind in my world. So,
Right.
like, help me out and
Exactly.
then get out."
So that's more than to the point of like I still don't understand what Dolores is trying to do exactly. I feel like I need it
Yes.
spelled out for me. And maybe it's me being a thick viewer and I'm supposed to be inferring more here or
Mhm.
something, but I just don't understand the motivation fully of why this is the mission.
Sure. I've been sort of looking at it as I feel like it's a plan in two phases. So like this first phase, this whole like I want to crack Rehoboam and I want to like set humanity free, just like I could set myself free from Westworld,
Mhm.
from this like pre-scripted life. I feel like that's like somehow the first phase of at least two phases, because I feel like that goal right now is very sympathetic for the viewer, because
Mhm.
we sort of like see that goal
Sure.
through Caleb, and like
Caleb,
he's
yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want to, live this pre-scripted life where I just commit suicide and, you know,
Yep.
like I don't really have a life. So I feel like that first part is very sympathetic and it's like something that's easy to root for. and then something else is gonna come along, like, phase 2 is, "Okay, I've set humanity free, but, like, this part of humanity, still is, like, corporate and wants to take over, so I'm just gonna have to, like, slaughter them or something."
Right.
And, that's gonna be the part where, like, maybe, Caleb and Dolores break, and then by extension, like, the
Yeah.
viewer and Dolores sort of, like, break,
Maybe,
and that's
yeah,
where Bernard's, whole stopping her thing comes in, because he's the one I actually feel like I don't know what his purpose is right now.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
stopping
what are you gonna
Dolores,
really
but
do?
what yeah, it feels like I don't really know what you're doing right now.
It'd be like, I don't know what the saying is, but something you catch it and then you don't know what to do with it kind of thing. It'd be
Yeah,
like that where you just if he were to capture Dolores, then what? I
right,
guess take out her pearl and I don't I don't know. Yeah, what's his goal? Like whose side is he on? And I think
right.
that's just to me has been the frustration so far of the season is not really uh, you know, at the end of season 2, knowing this is where they were going, I'm thinking in my head, how are they moving forward with this? Like what
Mhm,
is you know, what is the arc going to be? What are
right.
the missions? And I still am left like I don't know. Unless this is a machine uprising, you start making a lot of copies of yourself or
Right.
something like that, or you try to
Well,
integrate with humanity and like not let them know that you're there.
right.
There's some options there, but I don't see those paths. So like I guess Dolores is just saying, like you say, take down this structure and this surveillance state.
Mhm.
And because her job is a lot harder anyways, if there's this
Right,
giant surveillance state, if nothing
right.
else. So
Yeah.
if they can keep tabs on her all the time or whatever, and then that's more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the seeds are very loosely planted right now, for, like, a second like I say, a second phase kind of thing, with what we saw in the Yakuza warehouse with
Mhm.
obviously, like, whatever material that is, I'm not really sure, what host bodies are made out of,
Yeah.
but,
Right.
like, the barrels of that around.
Yep.
Clearly, like, the goal is to make more, it's just like,
Right.
is it make more Doloreses? Is it,
Oh my god.
like, who else are we gonna make?
Yeah.
So there's an idea there that something else is coming. And
Mhm.
then obviously, like, Dolores deliberately bringing Bernard back to say, like, "You're gonna have to stop me." Which I mean, I find that concept initially weird in and of itself. But, if we stick with it, if we're just, gonna make a leap there and say, okay, this is clearly
Mhm.
going to be something, then I'm trusting that, they're gonna have that payoff. I don't know what that is yet.
Yep.
I'm not seeing that clearly.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I feel like there could be some other scheming with Bernard yet. Maybe his paranoia will come to fruition with
mhm,
how he's been like checking his code and you
right.
know. Um
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I it's sort of I like Bernard being there, and I like his little, like, bromance that he's got going on with Ashley. So that's kind of fun to watch, like, this
mhm.
odd pairing. Um, and I think there's something interesting with, like, Bernard's little button that he's developing.
Yep.
It's very similar, obviously, to what Sirach used on Maeve.
Yep.
So maybe that's sort of somehow tying into this story, you know, that
Mhm.
this is a way to maybe stop Dolores at some point,
Yep.
or
Well, right, that's what he was looking is like making a remote to, shut him down, but they
right,
knew that somehow. They
right.
knew, they could just take it from him then. Yeah, you're not gonna
Mhm,
use this on us.
right.
Um,
So,
but
yeah, yeah, seeds are there and something is being set up, and I think at some point, it's gonna shift into whatever's coming next, and I just hope it pays off, I guess.
are you satisfied with the idea that all the other artificial people that are out there are Dolores, copies of Dolores?
Um,
Do you like that?
man,
I
I
mean,
kind
it's
of do.
surprising.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. I know, in our last episode, we'd sort of talked about, like, who we thought these people could be.
Mhm.
And I had mentioned, like, a theory out there was, like, a version of Dolores was in
Mhm.
Charlotte. Um, So I'd sort of, like, thought maybe. So maybe Charlotte's reveal wasn't quite as surprising, but then, like, learning, like, everybody was
Everyone.
Dolores, that was surprising to me for
Mhm.
sure. 'Cause I'd sort of been running on the assumption that, people couldn't be copied like that, or hosts couldn't be copied like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Um, which I don't know why, I just, probably because they hadn't introduced it before, but, I was sort of running on the, like, this is, Dolores's alter ego program, Wyatt, and not
Right.
Dolores herself. But I think it's a really interesting avenue to pursue and sort of, like, explore how these different Doloreses maybe stay the same or evolve,
Dolores
you know,
I.
Yeah, I know. I can't figure out what to call them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, they're obviously, like, initially the core of Dolores at one point in time, and then moving into other bodies and having other experiences than the original host Dolores in
Yep.
her own body. How does that change them?
Yep.
And do they become not Dolores
That's
then?
kinda how we talked in the last one, how where what
Mhm.
is the, you know, what are they trying to say, and then how much does the brain, and then how much does the body, and how much does, right, experiences, how as much is
Right.
that shaping what you are, and does someone quickly become something very different
Mhm.
because of the shape they're in, like,
Right.
oh, I just realized we blew over a news story, and because this just reminded me of that.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Well,
Do
it was
you
just the Louis CK had a comedy stand-up special where
Oh,
you can buy
funny.
for like $8 on his website. It's
A
the
new one,
first.
obviously?
Yeah, yeah, it's the first
Okay.
in a long time or whatever. He's like, for those that
Yeah.
need to laugh right now or whatever. And there was a joke in there about I won't ruin the thing, but there was a joke in there about swapping bodies
Okay.
with someone. And anyways, I recommend you, if you liked Louis C.K. in the past, go check
Mhm.
out his new special on his website. Um,
I do have to say I've been watching recently a lot of Parks and Rec, which he,
okay.
like, guest starred on for a season.
Oh, nice.
So it's sort of like, I don't know, reminding me of, like, pre-scandal Louis CK
Yeah,
and how much I did like him.
yeah.
So
They
I
talk
would
about
probably
he
go check it
talks about
out.
it in there and stuff, and
Sure.
so he doesn't shy away from it.
That's good.
So, but yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, if like we had swapped bodies all of a sudden,
Mhm.
that'd be very weird. We would probably act quite different than
Right.
than we normally would or whatever. And so I do like the way that they're kind of showcasing that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I
In
think
this.
you can see, I mean, most evidently in Charlotte Hale, quite a difference between, like, original Dolores and, like, this copy of herself.
Hmm.
Um, like, it's sort of making sense now that, like, in the other episode, that figure was, like, saying how Charlotte was taking over and, like, she was empathizing with her, and she felt Charlotte, like, trying to claw her way in
Hmm.
control, even though it, like, technically isn't her, it's, like, her
Right.
memory. Um, so, yeah, so I think we're already seeing some sort of fractures that way.
Yep.
Um, this copy of Dolores may not be a strong copy, or, the personality of Charlotte Hale may be so strong that it's, like, overriding, that copy of Dolores's code,
Hmm.
which I think is interesting.
Yeah. So, I know my biggest issue with the episode.
Sure.
So, I don't know why I was expecting you to say no. I guess I don't know. So no, it's I'm getting some Terminator vibes from Dolores, and I
Okay,
kind of
in what
have.
way?
Well,
I mean,
she's
I'm, like, with you, but
she's seeming so effective. Like,
sure.
um, Maeve, she has her ups and downs, like these times of like showcasing a lot of power and stuff, but then at the same time being taken down or being frozen in place or whatever. You
Mhm.
know, the Bernard, he's an intelligent guy. He knows what's up, but he's struggling with like self identity and being worried that he's been sabotaged and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So he's got problems. Dolores, core Dolores, um, is like, one, how is she such an effective fighter? Like, not only is the guard version of her, okay, it makes a little more sense, like an amazing shot,
Right.
she's
Yeah.
like an effective whatever.
Right.
Um, but I thought it was weird, like, when um the head of security, who's made as a machine, be programmed to fight a little bit better? Like,
Yeah.
how is she wins everything is my point, and she's
Sure.
cold and calculated, and she's always winning. And so, like, when you say she's the sympathetic character, I understand the goal is sympathetic, but at
Yeah.
the same time, she's willing to kill anyone for it. She has poor Caleb dragged into this. Like, when I'm watching this, I'm like, man, I don't think I'd be involved. I gotta just start shooting people for this lady on command.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think oh, I don't think she's a fully sympathetic character. And like you say, I think the goal is probably more sympathetic to the viewer than Dolores is.
Mhm,
Or at least it is right now. But I see flashes. I agree that right now she does seem a little invincible, and I
mhm.
think we need a little bit more struggle. Um, but I mean, she did almost get killed, when she was trying to um take down Liam Dempsey. She did get had. She wasn't prepared for his security guy, Connell's.
Yeah,
And he did almost wipe her out. So that definitely was like a little bit of a close call, a little bit, she struggled there.
yeah,
Um, so she kind of, didn't get to execute her plan fully. And then I think the other sort of like sympathy flash that we get is her, you know, admitting to Caleb, like, "Hey, I didn't think you'd help me, and I want to help you." Um,
sure.
so a very small moment, but I can see how like Caleb would latch onto that kind of thing, especially learning the truth about like the system trying to like put
Yeah.
him down and predicting his suicide. And he's like, man, she's the only one who's ever like stopped and been like, let's, get you
Well, he
somewhere
talked
and
like he
let's
feels
prevent
alive,
this.
she
Yeah.
made him feel alive. So, like, I mean, I get a person in this situation getting involved for sure.
Mhm.
It's
But
gonna
yeah, I mean, he clearly does like this episode get a little reluctant and he's like, "Man, this is a little bit more than I was thinking and this is a
Mhm,
little, um I think it's easy when you to get idealistic when you want to fight a system and it's a little bit harder when you're like running around and shooting actual people
mhm.
or, bloodjacking them, which they did to that
Yeah,
lawyer.
yeah,
That's sort of a little different. You don't sort of like think about like the nitty-gritty dirty details
yep.
until you're faced with them and you're like, "Oh shit."
She just had we had several combat scenarios. We had
Mhm.
um where her in the factory taking on Maeve, where she won.
Mhm.
And then we had um her as Hale in with the man in black. And she won. Now that's not a physical confrontation, but it's a win.
Yeah, it did seem like a bit of a strong flip for Charlotte, who previous episode was, like, so vulnerable,
Hmm.
um, and then was like, "Hey, I'm gonna, like, totally win this, mind game that
Well,
we're playing right
yeah,
now."
yeah. Because she seemed like she was struggling intensely with identity, and
Mhm,
then I guess the man in black brought that back for her. Plus, I
mhm.
mean, I'm sure the scene in the other episode where she chokes out the dude
Yes.
is designed to be like, all right, I'm in this, and
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I mean, it is hard, though, to, like, see her fully, like,
yep,
come back, I think, from that,
yep,
like, vulnerable state. It's just like, "Wow, okay, cool. Guess we resolved that."
yep. And then the security guy, he beat down Bernard. He won there.
Mhm,
And then in normal form, she beat down Ashley.
mhm.
So it's just like a win across the board for her.
Yeah,
And it's like one of you should have lost. I mean, I
yeah,
guess, but anyways, that's where I was thinking the Terminator things, the Terminator terms
sure,
is like, I'm cold, I can beat up anyone.
sure.
And then what'd you think of the Man in Black coming back?
I loved it. I thought it was so great.
That was cool.
Um, Yeah, I and that part of the story felt totally fitting for him,
Mhm.
like, just getting out of the park and just being like,
Being
"Oh my
haunted.
god." Yeah, like, I'm not sure what's real, like, am I
Yep,
still in a game? Like, yeah, I'm sort of here, but I'm sort of not, and
yep.
yeah, all of it was spot on, and Ed Harris deserves an Emmy for that performance, for sure.
Ed
He just
Harris
crushed
is
that.
yeah. There's certain actors with a weight to their performance, and
Mhm.
I always think Ed Harris is
Yeah,
just pretty solid all the time.
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
I genuinely enjoyed that part of the episode, and I thought it
mhm,
was a great way for the character to come back and
mhm.
then not come back and
Yeah,
then, be sort of again, I think, a prisoner in his own mind,
yeah.
um, now that he's locked away in an
Just gonna go in
institution.
more nuts, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
and
kinda
and
sad.
I thought it was great of Dolores to just be like, "You've reached the center of your maze," like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, so on.
yeah. It was, I I felt bad for him, but he totally deserves it. Like,
Mhm.
he's bad dude.
Yeah.
But it was like it was extra rough to like, "Oh, you're coming back," and he gets kind of snaps to and gets into it. I'm gonna go to this board meeting, right? And then nope. Actually, you're gonna be driven more insane
Yeah,
again here.
I did not see that coming. Like,
No.
I definitely was like I bought into it the whole way that, he
Yep.
needed to go save the company and, Charlotte was bringing him back because she needed
Yep.
him, and then that twist when, like, the guards were really, you know,
Yep.
um
Members of a outpatient,
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
So,
Yep.
yeah, that was yeah, totally fooled, and that was a great moment. Like, that was so great. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Well, anything else in this episode that really stood out? You seem pretty
yeah,
excited. I'm glad we know who's in. That's great.
yeah. The only other, I thought interesting sort of, you know, little reveal, sort of like drop in, tidbits of the past was like the little intro to Sirach and his childhood and like what happened.
Mm, yeah.
I mean, it was both like, what happened to him, but then what also happened to the world because apparently Paris is gone.
Yep.
Um,
Some sort
nuclear
of like
attack, I
bombs
think.
dropped or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so it was an interesting look inside his psyche, I think, to see how like that affected him and his now clearly like serious pathological need for control.
Yes.
Um, so I
I
think
did
that was
appreciate that. Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I appreciated that insight to his character and that sort of like insight to what's maybe been happening in the world of the future that Westworld
Mhm.
is set in. I did like sort of think, "Oh my god, are you serious, Sirach? Like tragedy happens to everyone. Like get over yourself. Like you don't need to build this machine that controls the world." And when he's giving, that speech about like there are always outliers that you can't control and we need to eliminate them, and I'm just like, "Oh my god." Like
It's the but it's I appreciate it because it's a true to life character. It's someone that
yeah.
views themselves as an elite. And one of his lines was like, there are very few people in this world who should get to decide, what others
Mhm.
do or what is okay or what is right or
Right,
whatever. I'm one of them. And so I'm gonna, take it upon myself. Like, so in that case, he's okay killing anyone. Like,
right.
he has no barriers because he knows that he knows better, and he's gonna run humanity because I can do it. I have the resources for it.
Right. Yeah, I guess I am, I'm willing to go with it if I get more of him as a character. Based on, like, that one thing, I was sort of like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Like, you think you're the only one who went through this tragedy, and, like, that alone gives you the right to
But
need to control the world and then, like, actually build a system to control the world, like, other people probably suffered this same tragedy that you did.
but it's
Um,
not really the thing that made him that way. It's how he rationalizes the way he is.
yeah, that's what I mean though, is like, I feel like I need more of his character because this is the only big thing I know about him right now. You
Mhm.
know, as somebody who would think, like, I'm not this doesn't make me special. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that wouldn't be my first thought of, like, I'm the only one who's ever experienced a tragedy like this, so I must get to control the world.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so I feel like that was a great insight, but I need more from him
Mhm.
than just that, because otherwise I feel
Yeah.
like that's too simplistic of a motive, and I'd be kind of disappointed about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at someone that has gone through something difficult, you
Mhm,
can think of anyone you know or whatever, and then
mhm,
you're like, some people handle that in a way like, well, man, other people have it a lot worse.
mhm,
It's pretty good I have this and I can carry on. And others handle it like, you know, it's a weight pulling to the bottom of the ocean.
mhm.
I can't possibly, like, look at the how terrible this is for me or whatever.
Right.
Um, and so I mean, and like you say, maybe we'll see more about this specifically, but the way I took his little speech about certain people being able and
Mhm.
in the right position to make these judgments was not that, well, my home was burnt to the ground and therefore I have the right. It's,
Mhm.
no, look at what an ignorant population does without the proper guidance from someone as intelligent as I. They destroy things. So I need to
Oh,
be there so
sure,
someone like me to,
sure.
to make sure that that doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like I don't know, I feel like we both sort of focused on different parts of the speech, I
Yeah.
guess,
Hmm.
whereas, like, I was more interested in his whole, like, I need to understand the motivations of these outliers who would do things like this,
Hmm.
like bomb the city of Paris, and that
Hmm.
was, like, sort of what I focused on, and I was just like, whoa, like, you kind of need to understand that you can't understand everything about humanity, and people are just going to be crazy, or do things that you can't predict, and
Hmm.
that need for control just doesn't apply in the sense of, like, controlling every person's actions, because now we're seeing it dictate other people's actions,
Yep.
like now, I feel like we're seeing that the sort of negative side effects of it with through Caleb,
Hmm.
who doesn't really get a choice about how his life is.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so that was I think maybe the core of Sirach lies somewhere within both of those sentiments, and we just
Yeah.
sort of, like, focused on different things.
I do hope we see more, for
Yeah, I
sure.
agree.
Either way, I hope, we get, because, and I hope we see more too of Dolores is
Mhm.
in real motivations and stuff too, because she's
Yeah.
not really been honest as far as we know, or the sense I get, she's not really been open and honest in front of herself to us. Like, I
Yeah,
have to assume that she's given, like, she has been, but we have not seen that. We have
right,
not seen those dialogues. We've seen it between her and Caleb. We
right.
don't know if that's half truths or what, so
Yeah, I feel like she's almost hiding things from herself at some points. The way that she, like, interacted with, the herself that is Charlotte
yeah.
didn't really
Hmm.
seem to be, like, wholly open. It was almost like, you remember the things I told you and the things I need you to do, but that feels like only pieces of what her overall plan is, like, it was almost like she was coddling her and keeping her in the dark about other things, and
I just thought of something. I
oh,
want
sure.
them all to fight, because if they want to
Yeah,
drive home this idea that your body, your role, your experiences, has such a profound impact on who you are, um, they would not necessarily see eye to eye. And
sure.
if and so you'd have some sort of disagreement. So you can
Mhm.
have that, or you can have the argument that the body doesn't change that much, and they're still all Dolores. And
Sure,
Dolores wants to do things her way.
sure.
She has her mission, her goal, and stuff. Now, if they're all aligned, that's fine. But it seems weird to me that a Dolores would take the back seat and, "Oh, yeah, I'll be Hale. You get to
Right.
be us, actual us. I'm
Right.
gonna take on this other really intense role." And all
Mhm.
these other people too, they don't
Yeah.
they kinda get the short end of the stick. And
Yeah.
are any of them gonna get tired of that at some point? And
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think, we saw like the briefest blip of that when Charlotte asks like, "Why do you
yeah,
get to be you?"
right.
But Charlotte right now, I guess obviously in like the last half of the episode, she seems a bit stronger. But when she
Yep.
started out, she seemed like, a lesser, version of whoever she was. And now that we know
Mhm.
that that's Dolores, it's hard to imagine like her taking on original form Dolores. But it's
Yep.
not so hard to imagine like the Dolores who is Connell's,
Mhm.
like head of security, like
Yep.
trained sharpshooter, kind of being like, no, let's go.
Yep. Right.
So, yeah, that'd be very interesting, I think, to have a battle of Dolores's or
I mean, the
Doloresi.
the only person we're seeing so far other motivations for is Charlotte Hale. We're
Right.
seeing that she is like taking care of the child. She has an ex-husband, and all this
Mhm.
stuff. And the person that was in that body before, had a deal with Sirach was the mole.
Right.
So she at this point would make the most sense to have other motivations
Mhm.
that will conflict with regular Dolores's
Right.
missions and
Right.
objectives. Would she throw her now basically adopted kid under the bus in order to get things done, or
Mhm.
would something like that take priority now? It's like, no, I
Right.
love this kid,
Right.
and so could be some
Yeah.
drama there.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, too, who Dolores or any Dolores, original or otherwise, is planning on putting in new bodies. Since, she's clearly making host material, is she
Hmm.
planning on making even more copies of herself?
Hmm.
Or, is she finally going to bring anybody from, Westworld over
Well,
and put them in new
presumably she doesn't
bodies?
have them.
Well, I mean, she could go back to Westworld and get them though, because
Yeah,
I mean, Bernard was there,
yeah,
for that sort of briefest of moments, and we see like Maeve's pearl get retrieved from like a stack of pearls,
yeah.
somewhere in some facility. So they're clearly still accessible somehow, just not like easily.
Charlotte could go in, I suppose,
Hmm.
and get stuff.
Yep. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if she, you know, eventually tries to bring more people over. Or more
Yeah, I think it's
hosts
gonna be
over, I
like
should say.
a Mr. Smith from
Yeah.
Matrix,
Yeah.
just copy themselves.
Mhm.
Like you said, if you want to get something done,
Mhm.
do it yourself. That those
Yeah, it'd
two.
be interesting to see if she does, make even more copies or if she sort of, like, decides once she if she gets control, of the real world at some point, if she, like, maintains, like, a small council of Doloreses and then,
Yeah,
like, kind of,
yeah,
like, repopulates other hosts in the
yeah.
real world.
Just starts tweaking a little code here and there.
Yeah.
You're different enough now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
Well, it'll
Well,
be interesting to see, what the last half of the season brings.
yeah, I'm worried. I've been enjoying everything. I've been fully engrossed in each episode,
Mhm.
and I it's sad if there's only 4 left. They
Mhm.
gotta move. Otherwise, maybe they're getting things set up for season 4
Right.
reasonably, and so, like, they're gonna take their time.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of at this point I was a little surprised to learn there's only 8.
Mhm.
Like I thought there would be at least 10, and so I was sort of enjoying the pace of the season, and now I'm a little anxious about it.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully, I mean, maybe it's like a Castlevania situation where, like it sort of seems to move slowly and they build up. And then suddenly, like the last 2 episodes, like everything happens.
Yep.
So we'll
Mhm.
see.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's Westworld season 3, episode 4.
Yeah.
Reminder to everyone to rate and review our podcast, like, comment, share. Um, yeah. Anything else you could say? This is going to be on just YouTube and well, it's Twitch, be on YouTube tomorrow.
Yep, and
And
then I'll post it to Facebook so people can access it that way too.
then we'll have our regular show on Friday or Saturday. Normally Saturday, but we'll
Yes.
talk about that. So
Well,
um,
Saturday's your birthday.
what is it?
Your
I don't know.
birthday.
Is it officially my birthday on Saturday? No,
Isn't it?
it's Monday.
No, it's
It's
not.
Monday.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it'll
Chris
be your birthday
is,
celebration.
yeah. Chris, I always forgave he's one day older or younger. Is this the 12th or is it
Yes.
14th? It's the 12th.
No, he's the 12th. I know,
Okay.
there's, like, a string of birthdays right in a row
Yeah.
that, like, I always get mixed up, like, who's where. I know Chris's, I know my own husband's, thank goodness.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's, like, a string of, like, 4 birthdays right in a row that I'm just like, "You guys are somewhere around there,"
I
so
put everyone when I find out their birthday, I put their birthday in with their contact information. So like
mhm.
not just like in the I like open up their contact and there's always a field for birthday. So
Nice.
I always see in the calendar everybody's birthday.
That's smart. I've just started doing that. I used to rely on Facebook.
Yep.
Um, I mean, and some I could just remember offhand, but Facebook was a great reminder. And now I'm like, well, I feel like more and more people are moving away from that. So I gotta, you
Yep.
know,
Can't be
make an
slave to that
effort.
machine.
That's right. It's
So
dangerous as Westworld is teaching us to be
that's
slaves to
right.
machines.
Yeah. That's what they're really talking about.
That's
It's
right. Facebook is
yeah.
one big
They should
metaphor for
have
Facebook.
yeah. They should have just called the computer what's Facebook backwards, like Kub SF.
Asaf.
Yeah, Kub SF.
Kubasaf. Somehow it doesn't have like the gravitas,
Yeah, I
you
guess. I
know?
don't know. Hmm. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thanks anyone that joined us. Hope you enjoyed and talk to you later, Andrea.
Sounds good. Have a good week, Jen.